Good morning, subscribers, and welcome back to the channel. Today we're going to be diving into the topic of a UK SIPP for US residents, the ultimate guide. This morning I have Jonathan Laws, our senior advisor, joining us from just inside Greenwich in the United Kingdom to give us his insights on this. Good morning, Jonathan. How are you on this fine morning?
Morning, Dominic. Yeah, no, good. Raring to go.
Excellent, as always on a Monday morning. Okay, so John, can you start off with what is the problem for US residents with UK pensions?
Yeah, so the fundamental problem is that most UK pension schemes don't like you. If you've got any sort of connection to the US, you are a compliance department's worst nightmare, as I'm sure you already know. So, yeah, what you find is if you've got any sort of US connection, but especially if you're a US resident, finding a UK pension scheme to set up and consolidate or to access from abroad is a bit of a nightmare. And yeah, that's the problem you face. It's just very hard. You have a lot less flexibility than even other non-UK residents have, and that's just due to the compliance and risk involved being as a US person or resident.
Indeed. So John, what is a UK SIPP for US residents?
Yeah, so when you mention the SIPP and being a UK pension that is incredibly flexible, the problem you find is a lot of SIPP providers out there just won't accept you as a US person, especially these days. One of the big providers in the UK used to do it, and as of October they immediately pulled the plug, which looked like it came from compliance. To essentially say, no, we're not doing any non-UK residents anymore. So a UK SIPP for US residents is basically a US SIPP provider that's gone out of their way to make sure they will put in place all the checks, the compliance, the insurance in place to deal with US residents. So that's what it is. It's not special. It's not technically unique. There's no structural difference. It's just a provider that's willing to endure the cost and hassle and risk of accepting you as a client.
So could you refer to it as a SIPP for expats?
Yeah, so it would be the typical SIPPs out there that do cater, especially for US residents, will also cater for non-UK residents. So yeah, these expat style SIPPs or international SIPPs a lot of times will accept a US client.
But at the same time, they will also accept a UK resident as well, right?
Yeah, it's still a UK pension. Just because it specialises in non-UK residents, that doesn't mean it won't accept you if you live in the UK. Invariably, a lot of times, before you move abroad, you want to get everything sorted, all your ducks in a row, as we like to say, and that might mean you do it all and you sort it all out before you move abroad. So yeah, no, they very much cater towards UK residents as well, even if they do specialise and advertise and market more for the international residents.
So if a US resident takes a UK SIPP, what happens in terms of their tax reporting? Do they still need to report the pension to the IRS, even if even if the money's not inside the US? And how does it work in terms of income and withdrawals?
Yeah, so again, obviously, we're not tax advisors. We don't have any in-house tax experts. Our model is that actually ends up typically being poor tax advice. So we always recommend you use independent third-party tax advisors. But invariably what happens is, one of the benefits, any kind of US connected person knows having a simple brokerage account or dealing account is nigh on impossible in the UK because of all the financial reporting and IRS implications and all the rest of it. Whereas inside the UK pension, it's our understanding, and it is SIPP providers' understanding, that as it's a pension, you don't own the assets, the trust owns the assets, the pension trust owns the assets on your behalf. You don't run into all those issues. You might have heard of PFIC, which is your passive foreign income corporation legislation, which means you can end up paying prohibitive tax charges for being in collective investments. A lot of all that stuff doesn't apply inside a UK pension. And then in terms of the reporting, yes, like other accounts, you should report it. Again, if you live in the US, you probably already have a tax advisor, someone helping you do the accounts. And yeah, our understanding is that it needs to be reported. It doesn't need to be reported on everything. You'll hear a different opinion from one tax advisor to another. Our opinion is, it's not treated as a certain type of trust, so it doesn't need to be on all your forms. But again, that is something to liaise with your local tax advisor, your accountant, to attain. And then in terms of tax and stuff, whether it comes to tax-free cash or your income, our personal view is, in vast majority of jurisdictions and in our experience of clients and what they've dealt with, all the income, regardless of whether it was paid tax-free, will be taxable in the US and has to be disclosed during the tax season, which is right now. Sorry to give you PTSD. That's kind of the rough guidance on the kind of the taxation situation. Yes, they'll let you have all your gross roll up. They won't penalise you for PFIC, but they're going to take their pound of flesh on the way out. You don't have, it's not perfect. You don't have all the best of both worlds.
And for anybody who's either been in the US and moved to the UK, or was born in the UK, now lives in the US, or any combination of such, can you please explain to our viewers the difference between being a US resident, being a US citizen, and being a US connected person in relation to managing your UK pension pots?
Yeah, so obviously a US citizen, you've gone through the whole rigmarole. Either obviously you're born there, or you took citizenship, you passed all the tests. And you officially, onboarded, for want of a better term, as a US citizen. Obviously, then you've got US residents who could also be a citizen, but might just be there on a green card or another type of visa. A student could be a US resident, like I was back when I went to Wisconsin for university. I was a US resident at that point in time, even if it was temporary. And then obviously you've got US connected, and US connected, is lighter, and a lot of people don't realize that because they might actually be classified as a US connected person even though they weren't born in the US or not a US citizen, and that could be because you've got US kids or US parents and other things. And again, it's not necessarily a simple this you are US connected, you are not, but there are a lot more kind of strings that you can kind of get stuck on that will rope you into being classified as US connected. And if you have any sort of US connection, a lot of these firms just want absolutely nothing to do with you, as I'm sure you already know if you've spent any time in the UK as one.
Yeah, so on that point then, when you were talking about some of the major big SIPP providers not accepting US citizens, does that apply to US connected persons as well?
Depends on the scheme, but a lot of times, yes. If you've got a workplace pension, and you're still in that, then they'll probably be able to accept you, especially if they have and they all know about a US connection. But no, a lot of providers out there, they will also say no to US connected persons as well. As you don't just have to be US resident. They see the word US anywhere near you. They just don't want anything to do with you because you are too expensive and risky or uninsurable. Or too expensive to insure from their point of view.
Understood. So for US residents out there watching today's video, if they have UK pension pots, what would be your advice to them? Where should they start? What research should they do? What should they be looking out for?
Yeah, so obviously the typical drawbacks of your typical workplace pension are the same for US residents as they are for other non-UK residents. So a lot of time, your existing pension arrangement might not be able to pay out to a non-UK bank account. It might not be able to invest in into your local currency. So you might not be able to invest in dollars, withdraw in dollars. There can be massive issues with death benefits. So if you're in a pension scheme, even if you're already in it and you've got it, but that pension scheme can't open a new one for a US resident or a non-UK resident, there's a very good chance you're not going to have the death benefits that you expected, or your spouse or your children, because they're not going to be opening up a pension for them. So if they can't open up a pension, they will just pay it out as a giant taxable lump sum, or so that's another big consideration as well. You need to be looking at, hang on, if I pop my clogs tomorrow, what happens to the pension? And 99 times out of 100, they will liquidate it and send it to your beneficiaries when you might have thought, they'll just be able to take it on as what's known as a survivor's pension. So that's a really big aspect you need to look at. So, if you have moved back to the US, or you are in the US and you've got UK pensions, you need to be taking regulated advice. Now, you're in the US, so you need to make sure that's local US SEC regulated advice, because, only US SEC regulated advisors can provide advice to you people in the US, to residents and those actually, feet on the ground in the US. And you need to make sure they understand, pension arrangements in the UK. They understand the cross-border complexities. They can work with the providers who can help, look at better options. Because one of the big things we get is, can I transfer this over into my 401k or into my traditional individual retirement account, my IRA? And unfortunately, the answer is no. They are, the rules are very different. They don't communicate with each other. Trust me, we tried to do it. It'd be ideal. I'd love nothing more. We'd love nothing more than, when I'm managing an IRA and some 529 plans and Schwab for my clients. I'd love it if I could stick the UK pensions on there, but unfortunately we can't. So that's another aspect you need to look at to see, right? What are my best options? And again, if you've got a financial advisor or financial planner in the US, there are going to be certain things about UK pensions they just don't know or understand or feel comfortable about liaising on, and that's where using the services of a proper financial planner or advisor with US regulations who understands, or is US authorized, who understands, the cross-border complexities means, you're probably going to get a better, more thorough, comprehensive financial planning overview and service.
Very good, very in-depth and knowledge and understanding there, John. Yes, so for all US residents, if you want to have a conversation, feel free to reach out to us. You can email me directly on dominic.murray@cjfinance.co.uk, or you can follow the usual links below. And as always, Jonathan, thank you for joining. I'll let you get back on with your Monday morning. And yeah, thank you, John.
Yeah, more than welcome.
Thanks very much. And as always, guys, take care of your UK pension assets.